channel. Here on this channel, we talk about all things mysticism, spirituality, and everything in between. So I have had so many people ask me this question, so I thought I had to do a video on it. Saves me from sending essay message replies back to everyone. And it's a question that comes up quite often for all of us in different relationship dynamics and different household dynamics through the course of our lives. So it's basically, how do you cope with unsupportive people in your life who are close to you, whether it be family, whether it be a partner, whether it be your children, whether it be friends or colleagues? How do you deal with unsupportive people? Now, given the current climate, COVID climate, which again, I don't like to coin names, but given the current climate in the world, most people are spending more time with the people close to them, whether it be you've moved back in with your parents, whether it be you live with your parents, whether it be your partner's now working from home, whether it be you're just stuck in a home filled with people. And oftentimes we use our outlets such as friends, colleagues, acquaintances, peers, other family members to be our support network, okay? But right now we may not have that because we're not in close contact with our soul family. We're not necessarily close to that colleague that just gets you. We're not necessarily seeing, that cousin that just knows what you're about. Instead, we're confined in a home that may be filled with people who do not get you. So how do you deal with that? Now, a question that I got recently was about specifically, I just can't handle how negative my parents are and how differently they see the world, and the fact that I've come to realize that they're quite racist and sexist, and they question my beliefs and they don't understand how I'm on this spiritual journey, and they always confront me and ask me whether I still believe in Jesus, and how do I deal with that? The first thing I'm going to say is I'm not going to give you some spiel on we can't let the judgment of others affect us and you can just look in the other direction, because that would be great advice if we were able to move through this world right now as we would normally. But that's not the case. We are closed in these homes with these people and we see them every day, multiple times a day. And how do you deal with that? The number one rule for me is setting healthy boundaries, all right? I have a rule that everyone knows in my house. I do not watch the news. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to have anything to do with it, okay? So my dad in particular, my mum and my sister are both quite on Team G in this regard, but my dad loves to watch the news every single day, multiple times a day. I refuse to. So if it's on, I get up and I walk in the other room and he'll be like, no, stay. I'll be like, no, you know the rules. I do not watch it. If it's on in the living room and I don't want to hear it, I make sure that I'm on the opposite side of the house. I have a boundary. If he discusses anything or if he wants to bring something up in regarding to what's happening in the global environment right now, I ask him, where did you get this information from? If the answer is news, I'm like, that I will not have a discussion regarding anything that's projected from news, okay, from the news. And he knows that that is just my boundary and he respects that boundary. Now, let's say he were not to respect that boundary. If he kept making sure that I were to hear that information, even though I've set the clear boundary, I would bring the boundary to his awareness. I would be like, I've said that it makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel anxious. Not that we don't agree about what we're saying, but the fact that I have asked that this be a boundary that is honored, and I do not want to discuss anything from the news because it brings up feelings for me that are uncomfortable. So I really would like and appreciate if you honored that boundary, and see how they receive that, okay? Now, obviously, if that isn't received, there are different layers. Some people will hear that and they'll be like, okay, she's framed it differently. I like the reframe. If they don't understand what I'm saying, because a lot of the time we take things personally and we feel attacked. When someone says, I don't want to discuss this, we feel attacked. One of my favorite books is The 4 Agreements, and one of them, the one that actually changed my life, is do not take anything personally. Do you know how many times I post things on Instagram and I will get DMs from people saying, is that about me? Honey, nothing is about you. Take nothing personally, right? Everything I post is general. It will not apply to everyone. It is not about everyone or anyone specifically. It is an observation that I've made, that I've interpreted, and that I am now reframing. That's all, okay? So take nothing personally. It's not an attack. And mention that to them. It's not about you and your beliefs, because I respect and honor the fact that you want to consume this news, okay? However, I do not. And I need that to be respected and honored, just the same way as I honor and respect your boundaries. Another thing is that we all chose our spiritual journey and our awakening here on this planet. We have gone through lifetimes and lifetimes of learning, unlearning, to relearn, to remember who we are. And everyone is on an independent journey, and we cannot speed up someone else's awakening. It needs to come from a place within them. All we can do is inspire awakening. All we can do is be the light beam, plant the seeds, not coming from a place of guilt, shame, or abusive energy. It needs to come from a place of love and compassion. This is what I believe, and this is why I believe it. Okay, and it feels right to me. I feel connected to this message, not because anyone else has this particular belief, not because I've met this new group of spiritual friends that are hippies and I feel connected to them, but because it feels right to me within me. Okay, and I can't rush someone else's journey. Everyone is on their own path, nor am I willing to put myself on a pedestal, nor am I willing to say that my way is better than your way, my way is better than my dad's way, my way is better than my sister's way. I'm not willing to do that, because that is so far from the truth. We are all learning from a different perspective, and the best way I've used this example is, imagine like a ball right now, and I've used this in a previous video. Let's even use this. It doesn't even have to be a ball, right? The way I'm looking at it right now, I'm seeing one perspective. If you're right over here, you're seeing a complete different perspective. If you're over here, you're seeing a complete different perspective. None of those are not the truth. They're just a limited view of the truth, okay? And that's how I see everything. Everyone is just on their independent spiritual journey, and I am here to plant the seed. I am here to be of light. So the other day, my dad was quite emotional about something that's happened with his family dynamic, some of his brothers and things that are happening back in Greece. And I could tell he was quite emotional. And because he was emotional, he was triggered. And that triggering was then having him project negative emotions. And I reminded him, because I know him really well, I reminded him of his truth. He said something that completely contradicts who he is, and I knew it does. So I brought it to his awareness. I'm like, hold on, you just said this word. You would never actually wish that, ever. And he's like, he took a minute and he's like, you're right. I reminded him of who he is, not who I want him to be, not who I expect him to be, but who he is based on his behaviors and his attitudes, right? So for example, when it comes to religion, one of my favorite things to do is if I have a parent or a family member or someone in my space or a partner telling me, do you still believe in Jesus? Do you still follow this? Do you believe that Jesus is our savior? And that was confronted to me in a way that I felt attacked. I would remind them that nothing they ever taught me about religion felt hurtful or harmful. It always came from a place of love and compassion. That's what I've been taught. And by reminding them of their own truth, something that they've upheld forever, it will bring them back to a place of love. And this isn't to one-up you. This isn't to spite you. This is to remind you that you've actually taught me one thing about religion, and that is always to come from a place of love and compassion. All right, to be accepting of all beliefs and systems, even when they don't align with mine. So just as you have always taught me that, I need you to put that to practice right now. Another one that really has helped me transform is never ask of someone more than they can give. Okay? A lot of people around us may not understand our spiritual journey, and they can only meet you where you're at. They can't meet you any further than that. So I cannot ask of them more than that. I can't ask them to understand, because they don't. Period. All right? They may one day in their own way, but I can't ask them to understand. What I can do is meet them where they're at. All right, that's what they can do. Instead of understanding me completely and fully accepting me, because that's more than they can offer right now, what they can do is agree to disagree. Okay? Happy medium. That we agree to not have particular discussions about topics, because I don't want to trigger you and I don't want you to trigger me. Okay? So it's finding this balance. And the other thing is, I don't like giving you a set of rules, because it's not universal. You may be in a family dynamic that's incredibly toxic, in which case your boundaries need to be firm. You need to be like, either you honor these boundaries or I'm finding a new place to live. Okay. Whereas for others, it's going to be more like a discussion that this is how I feel about this. I don't really want to have this discussion moving forward. And then that's honored, and great, happy family. Whether you believe it or not, we chose our particular family to teach us certain lessons. And often, more often than not, it teaches us patience. It teaches us compassion. It teaches us understanding. Me witnessing my family and the way they project their reality has taught me a lot. It's taught me that we all see the world differently, and no one's perspective is wrong. It's based on your personal experiences, your personal lessons, the way you interpret information, your past lives, what you've brought into, how much you tap in, and also other, is there substance abuse? Is there toxic friendships or toxic relationships within their lifestyle that they're then projecting a voice that isn't their own? There are so many layers, but how do you live within that? Set healthy boundaries. Don't expect more than they can offer. Continue surrounding yourself with people who do understand you. Right now, that may look like online forums. There may be people that you've met online, friends that you've met online. Remind yourself to connect with those people often, okay? The other thing I really like to do that's really, really helped me is when I do want to connect with family members or someone within my home that doesn't necessarily see things the way I do. I like to play Switzerland, all right? I like to just grab a board game or grab a deck of cards and we play something. We have a focused activity. So all of our attention isn't on a discussion about whatever's happening in the world. Instead, we've given our monkey minds an activity, okay? So we can still have that family bonding time and we can see things differently. I can't convince someone through guilt or shame. Watch Ben Kelly's recent video. It was really good in regards to shame projecting and shame manipulation. I can't convince someone to believe something even if I feel that it's wrong. Okay, so if someone's sexist, if someone's racist, if someone doesn't understand my spiritual beliefs, I can plant seeds and showcase how I feel about a particular topic, but I cannot add at the end, and you should think that too. Okay, because then I'm contradicting the place of love that I'm coming from. I wasn't always this way. For me, it's like veganism. I wasn't always vegan. I used to love meat. I loved it. I loved cheese. I loved meat. I'm Greek, right? So for me, it was like we grew up with the lamb on the spit and the gyros, and it was so embedded in my culture. And I remember when I was in high school and I went vegetarian, I was like dismissed by the family. Like, what do you mean you're going vegetarian? You're gonna die, da, 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 da. So I ended up eating meat again. And then when I did decide to go vegan, it was like this big shock to the family. And I can't tell them now. I teach them why I'm vegan because they always ask, why are you vegan? And I relate to them why I'm vegan, but I can't expect them to meet me there right now because there was a point when I wasn't vegan, when I didn't see it that way, even though I knew other vegans. Even though I knew other people who were already vegan, who were trying to tell me their perspective, I just didn't get it then. It took me a certain process, a certain pattern of unlearning, relearning to decide and make that decision that I was going to be vegan. And I can't expect that from anyone. But what's interesting is through planting the seed, through coming from a place of light, through cooking meals for my family and always offering them my vegan food. My mum is now vegan too. We've got my sister and I who turned vegan together. And then my mum's jumped on ship too. My dad has considerably reduced his consumption of meat, dairy, and fish. He hardly eats it. He'll eat it on his own when he chooses to. He has complete free will, but his consumption of it has radically reduced, and he's watched more documentaries because we are vegan. He wanted to understand us better, understand how we came to that decision. And that wasn't because I ever forced him and said to him, you have to watch this, read that article. I never came from that place. It was always, this is my decision and I love it for me. And this is my lifestyle and this is what it looks like. And he got curious. Okay, another message that came through with that initial message was someone said, when I meditate, my mum thinks I'm speaking to demons, right? So I, again, like to reframe because, I do my crystals and my cards and all of this woo-woo stuff. And even I'm creating something right now and I refer to it as magic. And my dad's like, don't refer to it as magic, refer to it as spiritual enlightenment. I go, no, it's called magic. And whatever you choose to call it, it doesn't matter. So what I would do in that case is reframe though. If someone thinks that what you're doing is demonic, explain to them, actually, all I'm really doing is just resting my mind. I'm just taking a minute to be still and connect to my heart space and breathe in deeply. Don't call it something that will trigger them, okay? Explain it to them because they're calling it that because they're afraid. That was something that was conditioned within them, that was imposed within them. That was a belief that they've been brought up with. I used to go to Sunday school. I get the fear mongering that is attached to a lot of beliefs and ideologies, but that isn't its true nature. I also know that religion is incredibly beautiful and it is sacred. And I have so many happy memories from the things I learned. I learned incredible lessons from growing up Orthodox. And I brought that into my spiritual journey. And although now I don't identify with any particular religion, I see the beauty in it. And I know that anything that is fearful isn't aligned with love, although fear is serving, but I know that it isn't aligned with love. So I try, instead of meeting fear with fear, I try to meet fear with love. Okay? And that's a really important lesson for you. Everything that anyone is ever projecting towards you is because they don't understand it within themselves. It is a mirror, and they're projecting that fear and that misunderstanding towards you because they don't understand it. So they want you to not understand it. They want you to question it. They don't understand that you used to think the way they thought and now you think different, and they just don't get it. Okay, but instead meet them from a place of love, meet them from a place of compassion. And I know that's difficult, especially when it's someone who is toxic towards you, but that's the work. The work is to come from a place of compassion and love as often as you can. The other thing that I think is incredibly important, and it's going to make you feel a little uncomfortable, do not shift your beliefs. Do not, and again, beliefs are a form of confinement. They need to be fluid, but your passion, what's within you, what's aligned with you, what feels connected to your soul, do not stop talking about it, living it, being it. Okay, I am a spiritual being. I am God in flesh. And whether my parents or my sister or my friends or anyone is on board or not, this is who I am, period. You either take it or leave it. That's it. This is non-negotiable. You don't want to join me on my ship? See you later, bye-bye. And I'm very willing to cut people off. You don't align with my truth. That's your problem, baby. That is your problem. That is not my problem to hold. I don't need to make you feel comfortable. I need to be the light, and you either want to honor that light or you don't. I don't need you to agree with that light. I don't need you to be the same light as me. Be your own light, okay? But I need you to honor the fact that this is my light. I recently had this experience online where I posted something that I knew would trigger a lot of people, and it did. And one thing I wrote based on all of the comments, and there were a lot of very toxic comments, is after a number of them, I said, moving forward, anyone that posts anything that is toxic, I will delete it because I'm setting a healthy boundary. I do not want to continue dialogue on this topic. And I had a friend of mine that I've been friends with since I was like 12 years old. She wrote like this essay comment. And she specifically stated, I know you said you didn't want people to write about this, but I'm going to ignore that and do it anyway. So I deleted the comment and I private messaged her and I said, you didn't honor my boundaries. I don't care that you believed something completely different to me. I love that people believe different things. That's what makes the world beautiful, okay? That we can have healthy discussions about topics and about truths that don't align with ours. However, the fact that you didn't honor a boundary is unacceptable to me, okay? So I made the decision. It wasn't honored, it wasn't respected, and moving forward there was a bit more of a discussion. It still wasn't honored and respected, so I decided to unfriend. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. There is no love lost. It's just that I don't want you in my space. Here's another thing. Understanding and honoring are two different things. I don't need someone to understand me. I just need them to honor me. That's it. I need them to respect me. I need them to allow me to have the space that I need. That's all I need. I don't need you to be on board. I don't have to agree with anything you believe. And, you know, I also need to remind myself not to be judgmental. I can't judge them for their beliefs. Yeah, I really don't get it. But there was a time and a place maybe that I believed those things, or I understand how they were programmed within them. My grandfather, rest his soul, I loved him so much, but he grew up in a particular region in Greece where his family were essentially prisoners to the Turkish. So he grew up in Greece and he was from a place called Pondos. And he had this very negative affiliation with Muslims, all right? He just really didn't like them because he grew up with this hatred because they essentially stole his home and kicked him out and killed his people, okay? So I understand how that belief was planted. Now, I have always had a lot of Muslim friends, and every Christmas I invite my friend Moe and his brother Ali to my house, and they celebrate Christmas with us, and they're both Muslim. And for me, it was just like, this is non-negotiable. They're my friends. They're going to be here. We're having them and welcoming them into our family. And one Christmas, my grandfather goes, I'm not coming if they're coming. And I go, well, then don't come, right? Because although I understand how the original belief was planted in your mind, it is not acceptable to behave in this way. You don't want to come, that's on you. That is on you. I'm not uninviting my friends because you have a problem within you, all right? I understand where that belief came from, but I will not allow it in my space. You can believe different things. You don't have to understand me and my friendships, but you have to honor it. You come sit down. Don't converse, don't communicate. I don't care, but you come and you honor everyone. And that doesn't make him a bad person. He was a wonderful person. I love him so much and I miss him so much. It was just something that was planted within him and I understood it, but he did end up coming to Christmas and he did end up sitting down and shutting up, and that was it. Okay, I have so many other things that I could say about this topic, but I know that it's already gone for quite long, so I'm gonna leave it at that. I hope that that was useful and I hope that you can implement that. We cannot rush other people on their journey. Everyone is on a personal journey, but set healthy boundaries, honor who you are, project who you are. Don't be afraid. Be unapologetic about who you are, but also respect and honor that other people see the world differently, and that's just the way things are. I love you so much. If you want more positivity in your life, I have a free positivity rampage. Links are in the description box below. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on next week's video. Bye!